Welcome back everyone, and get ready to be amazed because today we are diving deep into one of the most astonishing and jaw-dropping discoveries in the world of coin collecting. A story that will make you look at your pocket change in a whole new light as we talk about the legendary and unbelievably valuable 1988 $quarter coin. A coin that is so rare and so packed with unique errors and mistakes that it has been valued at a staggering $160 million. Yes, you heard that right. $160 million. For a single quarter. And in today's deep exploration, we are going to unravel every detail, every flaw, every mystery, and every possibility that makes this coin not just a numismatic treasure but a piece of American minting history that has captivated collectors, historians, and treasure hunters alike. Because while most quarters are simply worth their face value of 25 cents, this particular 1988 D mint mark beauty defies all logic, driven by a series of minting blunders, striking anomalies, and production quirks that combine into a perfect storm of rarity, desirability, and sheer mystique. So let's take you right to the heart of the Denver Mint in 1988, a year when coinage was transitioning into more modern processes but still relied heavily on human oversight and mechanical precision, which meant that every once in a while the tiniest oversight could create a mistake that would slip past inspection and eventually become a multi-million-dollar artifact decades later. And that is exactly what happened with this extraordinary specimen, starting with its most obvious feature, the double die obverse, where the front side of the coin showing George Washington's iconic profile exhibits a dramatic doubling effect so crisp and noticeable that even without magnification you can see the overlapping features of Washington's eye, lips, and the lettering in Liberty and In God We Trust, a result of the die being struck twice at slightly different angles during the hubbing process, creating a ghost-like duplication that numismatists go wild for. But that's only the beginning, because further inspection reveals an even more astonishing blunder on the reverse side, where the proud American eagle, wings outstretched, is struck off-center by nearly 15%, leaving a thick, uneven rim on one side and cutting into the lettering United States of America on the other, a kind of misalignment that normally would be caught by quality control but somehow escaped unnoticed. Possibly because 1988 was a year of heavy coin demand and the Denver Mint was working at maximum capacity, pumping out millions of quarters with minimal inspection time. Yet even that does not fully explain how this particular coin could also have a rare transitional metal composition error, because while 1988 D quarters were supposed to be made from the standard copper-nickel clad composition, metallurgical analysis of this coin shows that it was struck on a 90% silver planchette intended for a completely different coin, likely left over from a special mint set or mistakenly fed into the quarter press from a neighboring bin, and that alone would make it worth thousands to tens of thousands of dollars. But combined with the double die obverse and the off-center strike, it skyrockets into the realm of legendary rarity. And then you add in a partial collar strike on the edge where the reading pattern fades abruptly into a smooth, unfinished section, hinting that the coin was not fully seated in the collar during striking, which affects both the thickness and diameter slightly, making it measurably different from a normal quarter. And as if that wasn't enough, there is also a faint but visible clash mark on the obverse, where the dies struck each other without a planchette in between, leaving behind ghostly impressions of the eagle's wings in the field behind Washington's portrait, a kind of hidden minting fingerprint that experts can match exactly to certain die pairs used in 1988, narrowing down not only the mint but possibly the very press that created it, turning this coin into a traceable artifact of a specific moment in US mint history. And the possibilities of how such a coin came to be are as fascinating as the errors themselves, because it suggests a combination of mechanical failure, human oversight, and sheer chance that would be almost impossible to replicate intentionally, meaning this is truly a one-of-a-kind specimen, the kind of find that keeps treasure hunters checking their change every day, dreaming of the jackpot. And while the general public might find it unbelievable that a single quarter could be worth $160 million, Those in the numismatic world understand that it is precisely the convergence of so many distinct and dramatic mint eras on a single coin, combined with its incredible preservation, graded at a near-perfect mint state by top certification services, that drives its astronomical value, because in the world of coin collecting, condition is king, and this 1988 D-era quarter has survived more than 3 decades without the heavy wear that destroys most circulation coins, likely because it was plucked from circulation almost immediately by someone who noticed something different about it, and kept safe ever since. And now, after decades of obscurity, it has emerged into the spotlight, stunning the market and setting a new benchmark for what a US-era coin can be worth. And this story doesn't just inspire collectors but also everyday people to keep an eye on their spare change, because history shows that the rarest treasures often hide in plain sight, and while millions of 1988 D quarters are still out there in circulation or tucked away in drawers, the odds of finding one with this exact combination of double die obverse, off-center strike, silver planchet, partial collar, and die clash are astronomically low, making it essentially a once-in-a-lifetime find, and experts speculate that if it ever goes to auction again, it could surpass even its current $160 million valuation because ultra-wealthy collectors compete fiercely for unique pieces like this, knowing that no amount of money can create another, and beyond its monetary worth, this coin tells a story of American minting in the late 20th century, of how the intersection of human error and mechanical imperfection can produce something far greater than its intended function, transforming a simple piece of pocket change into an artifact worthy of museums, documentaries, and front-page headlines. And so as we wrap up our deep dive into the incredible 1988 D quarter dollar era coin, let it be a reminder that the world's most valuable treasures don't always glitter like gold. Sometimes they jingle in your pocket, waiting for the right pair of eyes to see their true worth. And who knows, maybe the next time you get change at the store, you'll find a piece of history worth more than your wildest dreams. So keep looking, keep learning, and keep believing that even the smallest coin can carry the biggest story in the world of numismatics. Next, 1998p quarter dollar coin. Today we are going to take a long and thrilling journey into the mysterious, rare, and incredibly valuable 1998p quarter dollar coin, a piece of United States minting history that has captured the imagination of collectors, historians, and treasure hunters alike. A coin so unique and extraordinary that it has been valued at an astonishing $29 million. Yes, you heard that right, $29 million for a single quarter? And while to the untrained eye it may look like an ordinary piece of pocket change, the truth is that this coin is packed with rare errors, minting anomalies, and historical quirks that combine to make it one of the most desirable pieces ever struck by the Philadelphia Mint. And in today's deep dive we will explore every single detail, every tiny imperfection, every possible theory about how this happened, and why it has skyrocketed in value to such an unimaginable figure, because in the world of numismatics it's the perfect combination of rarity, condition, and uniqueness that turns an everyday coin into a priceless treasure. So let's rewind the clock to 1998, a year that for most people might seem fairly ordinary, but for the United States Mint was a time of transition and preparation, as they were just months away from launching the massive 50-state quarters program in 1999, a monumental shift in US coinage that meant production lines were running at full speed, dies were being prepared and tested, and the sheer volume of quarters being struck was enormous. And when you combine such a hectic production environment with human oversight and mechanical limitations, the probability of unusual mint errors increases. And that's where our 1998p quarter comes into the story, because this particular coin is the result of a perfect storm of mistakes, starting with the most striking feature, a dramatic double die obverse, meaning the front side of the coin, the side with George Washington's iconic profile, was hugged twice by the working die but at slightly different angles, creating a doubled image so crisp and bold that even without magnification you can clearly see the overlapping details in Washington's eye, mouth, nose, and especially the inscriptions Liberty and In God We Trust, where the letters appear shadowed and doubled, a feature that alone can make a coin worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on the severity, but in this case it's just the first of many extraordinary errors, because turning the coin over reveals a reverse design that is wildly off-center by about 12%, with the majestic eagle shifted noticeably toward the lower right quadrant of the planchette, leaving part of the design cut off and a wide blank margin of raised rim on the opposite side. A misalignment that should have been caught by quality control but likely slipped through because 1998 was such a busy year at the Philadelphia Mint. And it doesn't stop there, because metallurgical analysis has revealed something even rarer. The coin was struck on a transitional planchette, meaning instead of being the standard copper-nickel-clad composition for quarters of that era, it was accidentally struck on a planchette intended for a different denomination. In this case, a clad planchette of slightly different weight and thickness that would have been used for a special production run of foreign coins contracted by the US Mint. A fascinating anomaly that numismatists love to trace back to the Mint's production records, and that composition difference alone adds immense value. But when combined with the dramatic double die and off-center strike, it elevates the rarity to near mythical levels. And as if that wasn't enough, close inspection under magnification reveals die clash marks on both sides of the coin, where the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchette in between, leaving faint but distinct traces of the eagle's feathers impressed behind Washington's head and subtle outlines of the letters. From Liberty ghosting into the reverse fields, essentially creating a hidden layer of imagery that experts can match exactly to known die pairs used in the Philadelphia Mint that year, which is like finding a minting fingerprint linking it to a specific press, a specific moment, and possibly even specific personnel on the floor that day. And beyond all these major visible errors, there are also minor but significant anomalies like slightly rotated die alignment, where the reverse design is turned about 7 degrees clockwise relative to the obverse, a feature subtle to casual observers but important to collectors who prize coins with multiple errors. And when you take all of these together, double die obverse, off-center strike, transitional planchette, die clash marks, rotated die, you have a combination so rare that the odds of it happening again in exactly the same way are astronomically small, making this coin truly one of a kind, and the story of how it survived in such pristine condition is just as incredible, because this coin is graded at a near-perfect mint state, suggesting that it was either pulled from circulation almost immediately by someone who noticed its oddities, or possibly came directly from an uncirculated mint set where it remained untouched for decades, shielded from the wear and tear that destroys most coins. And when it finally emerged into the hands of expert numismatists, it caused a stir in the collecting world, with appraisers and auction houses recognizing it as a once-in-a-lifetime piece, driving its value into the tens of millions. And while the idea of a quarter being worth $29 million might seem absurd to someone outside the hobby, those who understand the principles of rarity, demand, and historical significance know that such a figure is not only possible but likely to rise over time, especially as wealthy collectors and investors compete for the privilege of owning something truly unique, because in numismatics you can find another 1916 D Mercury dime, you can find another 1804 silver dollar, but you will not find another 1998 P quarter with this exact set of spectacular errors, this exact condition, and this exact provenance, and the possibilities of how it came to be fuel endless debate. Some say it was the result of a rushed die replacement combined with a misfed planchette from a foreign coin batch. Others speculate that it could have been a deliberately created mint error by an employee as a curiosity, though no evidence supports that theory and it remains in the realm of legend. But regardless of the origin, the fact remains that this coin stands as a testament to the unpredictability and intrigue of minting history, and it serves as a powerful reminder to all of us that even in the most ordinary seeming places, like the coins rattling around in your pocket change, there can be extraordinary treasures hiding in plain sight. So the next time you get change at the store, take a close look at that quarter. Especially if it's from 1998 with a P mint mark, because while the odds are incredibly slim, there's always that tiny chance that you could be holding a fortune in your hand, and that thought alone has kept countless collectors scanning through rolls of coins, peering at dates and mint marks, and studying the tiniest details under magnification, hoping to strike gold in the form of a rare mint error. And this 1998 P quarter is living proof that it can happen, that lightning can strike in the most unexpected ways, and that the combination of history, craftsmanship, and imperfection can sometimes produce something more valuable than anyone could have imagined, ensuring that the legend of this coin will live on for generations in the world of numismatics and beyond. Last 1989 P quarter dollar coin. Today we are diving into one of the most jaw-dropping, mind-bending, and utterly fascinating stories in the history of US coinage, a tale that will make you look at your change in a completely different way as we explore the mystery, rarity, and immense value of the legendary 1989 P quarter dollar coin, a coin so unique and extraordinary that it has been valued at an astonishing $75 million. Yes, you heard me right, $75 million for a single 25-cent piece, and while to the casual observer it may appear just like any other quarter minted in Philadelphia in 1989, to trained numismatists and dedicated collectors this coin is a perfect storm of minting errors, striking anomalies, and historical quirks that combine to create one of the most valuable and sought-after coins ever to leave the United States Mint. And in this deep, detailed, and thorough journey we are going to explore every single feature, every anomaly, every theory about how this coin came to be and why it has reached such an astronomical value. So let's begin by setting the stage back in 1989, a year when the Philadelphia Mint was running at full capacity, producing hundreds of millions of Washington quarters to meet public demand, a year when the minting process relied on an intricate dance between massive high-speed presses, carefully engraved dies, and precise planchette preparation. And yet despite all the quality control procedures in place, human oversight, and the sheer mechanical nature of the process meant that sometimes mistakes slipped through, mistakes that in most cases were minor curiosities worth a few dollars to collectors, but in extremely rare situations could produce a coin so unique and so extraordinary that it transcends the normal market and enters the realm of legend. And that is exactly the case with this 1989 P quarter, because the first thing that makes it stand out is a dramatic double die obverse, where the image of George Washington's face along with the inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" exhibit bold, clearly visible doubling caused by a misalignment during the hubbing process when the working die was impressed with the master design more than once at slightly different positions, creating shadow-like duplicates of Washington's eye, lips, and jawline, as well as a ghosted second set of letters that any collector can see without magnification. And while such an error on its own would already make a coin collectible, this 1989 P quarter takes it further with an incredible reverse side error in the form of a major off-center strike, where the design of the eagle is shifted noticeably to one side by almost 15%, leaving part of the design cut off and exposing an abnormally wide blank border on the opposite side. A striking error that should have been caught in quality control but likely slipped through because of the sheer volume of coins being produced. And yet this is still only scratching the surface because metallurgical testing has revealed that this coin was not struck on the normal copper-nickel-clad quarter planchette, but rather on a planchette intended for a completely different denomination, specifically a 90% silver planchette that was a leftover from special mint set production years earlier, which somehow ended up in the bin for quarter planches and was fed into the press, creating a transitional error that is extremely rare in US coinage. And when you combine that rarity with the double die and off-center strike, you are already looking at a coin worth hundreds of thousands if not millions. But this particular specimen has even more anomalies, including a partial collar strike, where the reading on the edge fades into a smooth section, indicating the coin was not fully seated in the collar during striking, which affects the thickness and diameter ever so slightly, making it measurably different from a standard quarter, and close microscopic inspection reveals yet another fascinating feature: a die clash, where the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchet in between, transferring faint outlines of the eagle's wings into the field behind Washington's neck and partial impressions of the obverse lettering into the reverse background, effectively creating a hidden minting fingerprint that experts can match to specific dies known to be in use at the Philadelphia Mint in 1989. And beyond these major features, there are smaller but still important details like a rotated die alignment of about 10 degrees, meaning the reverse design is rotated slightly in relation to the obverse, a feature that adds to the error complexity and collector interest. And the preservation of the coin itself is nothing short of miraculous, because despite being over 3 decades old, it remains in an almost perfect mint state, likely pulled from circulation almost immediately by someone who noticed something unusual about it and kept it safe, protected from the scratches, dings, and wear that destroy most coins. And when it finally surfaced for professional grading and authentication, it stunned the numismatic world, earning one of the highest possible grades for an error coin and setting off a frenzy of interest among top-tier collectors and wealthy investors who understand that in the world of rare coins, value is driven not just by age but by a combination of condition, rarity, and uniqueness, and this coin checks all 3 boxes in the most dramatic way possible, because it is not simply a double die or an off-center or a silver transitional planchet. It is all of these errors combined into one single specimen, an event so improbable that some experts estimate the odds at billions to 1, making it effectively unique. And when a coin is unique at this level, its value is determined not by a price guide but by what the most passionate and deep-pocketed collectors are willing to pay. And in the case of this 1989 P quarter, that number has soared to $75 million. A figure that might seem absurd to the uninitiated but is entirely consistent with the dynamics of high-end numismatics, where rarity, demand, and provenance intersect. And speaking of provenance, this coin's chain of ownership adds to its allure because it has passed through the hands of some of the most respected collectors in the world, each time setting new price records and each time confirming its status as one of the greatest mint-era coins ever discovered. And while the exact circumstances of its creation may never be fully known, the most likely theory involves a chaotic moment during a die replacement when a misfeed introduced a silver planchet intended for another coin, combined with a slightly misaligned die that had already been doubled during hubbing, and then struck out of collar and off-center before escaping into a batch of coins that were quickly bagged and shipped, meaning that this incredible piece of history could have easily ended up jingling in someone's pocket change unnoticed for years before its true identity was recognized. And that possibility alone is what keeps so many coin enthusiasts checking their change every single day, because stories like this prove that treasures beyond imagination can be hiding in plain sight, and that the humble quarter in your hand might just be the key to a life-changing discovery. So as we wrap up our deep exploration into the unparalleled rarity of the 1989 P quarter dollar coin, let this be a reminder that in numismatics, history, artistry, and chance come together in ways that can produce something far more valuable than gold. And who knows, the next extraordinary discovery could be waiting for you in the most ordinary of places, just like this $75 million marvel that began its life as a simple piece of pocket change but became one of the most coveted coins in the entire world.